Hello everybody and welcome back to our StarCraft Underground second paid tournament. My name is KilahAce, and here battling it out in the bottom left today as our red Zerg, none other than KilahAce. Meanwhile, up here in the top right as our blue Protoss player, Hazorath. There we go. That's better. Got a great one for you today. This first match going to be taking place on match point. As always, we've got a natural on the same level as the main, just outside here. A ramp that goes down, leads out into the middle of the battlefield here. We've got a third just down below the ramp. And a contested fourth down here in the bottom and top corners. This is a two-player map, so the only spawn locations are where the players currently are. So no guessing at the scouting. Everybody's going to know where the other is on this one. And I have yet to see Hazorath play, so I'm very curious to see what kind of play style we see from Hazorath today. KilahAce, on the other hand, pretty good Zerg player. I've watched a couple of their matches. Expect to see a lot of aggression from Kilah this game. Looks like Hazorath may be going for the Protoss wall that we see here. Looks like we may be using this mineral patch here to form this wall. Keep an eye on that. And here we have Hazorath's probe going to be making it into the Zerg base here. He's going to see the spawn pool. Going to probably try to hang out here for a little while, gain some scouting information. Nothing's going to be able to push this guy back here until the Zerglings are able to come out, push that probe away. And yeah, we do see the forge going down here. So likely going to see some photon cannons coming up behind the pylon here, in between the forge and pylon. And while we wait for these players to get going a little bit, let's go ahead and have a look at the bracket. So today's match is going to be coming in at round 2. The winner between these two going to be going up against I'm So Cool from the prior match between I'm So Cool and Yakub, where I'm So Cool took a 2-1 victory over Yakub, winning the first match with a proxy 2-gate. In the second match, over a 14-minute mark, with Dragoons and Reavers. The winner will be moving on to face I'm So Cool. Meanwhile, the loser going to be dropping down into the losers bracket in round 1 to face off against LML. Let's get back to it. So here we see Hazorath putting a lot of buildings down here at this wall. We see the photon cannon going to be going down next to the pylon, the gateway locking in next to the forge, and the nexus being put down all right here in the natural. Meanwhile, here in the main, we've got a pylon being constructed. Over here for the Zerg player, trying to run down the probe with the Zerglings. This is a little difficult to do. You kind of have to trap the probe in order to get it killed. May use this drone to try to slow it down here, yes, and does so, but it was almost enough to get the probe. Not quite, though. The probe going to be able to get back down here, get some more scouting info. Not going to be seeing anything too terribly important just yet. Sees the spawning pool. We've seen the second hatch already, and it also saw this third hatch when it was up here. So KilahAce looking to take a lot of ground here and spread very quickly. We've got fast expansion opening coming from Kilah here. And very standard opening coming from Hazorath. The forge wall with the proton cannon gateway. This is perhaps the safest build order to open with against a Zerg player, because by the time this photon cannon gets done, even a 6-lean rush can't really get through this. So, good safe opening right here from Hazorath. Meanwhile, this is a little bit of a risky opening, I would say, from Kilah, expanding into 3 base right here, but Protoss a little slow with this opening, as you see the Zealot just now hitting the battlefield. And Lings already running across the battlefield. At this point, Kilah would be able to queue up a bunch of Lings if we needed to be able to defend against this Zealot. And may actually need to do that, as this Zealot looks like Hazorath going to be walking this Zealot across the battlefield. Might be trying to get into the base here, the second or third. And back here for Hazorath, we see the Citadel of Adun being constructed. We've got the pylon and the back line there, going to be preventing anything from getting on the backside of those minerals. And here we see this probe definitely got to go down now. The Ling's able to trap it in, but the Zealot going to be trying to walk in here into the natural. Good micro right here from Kilah. And see, here we have the response from the Zerglings right here. Got a lot of Lings just already here. Let's see here. 8 Lings able to respond to that one Zealot by the time it was able to get across the battlefield. I'm going to set up some anchor points real quick so we have some jump to locations. I'll redo that after this ramp. A lot of the fights take place on these ramps right here, so that's kind of where I want to be. There we go. That'll help us out for quickly navigating back and forth across the battlefield. So we see the Templar archives going down for Hazorath. We got Zealot movement speed and melee weapons. Level 1 melee weapons being researched right now. Looks like we have a micro hatch or macro hatch going down somewhere. Interesting. KilahAce putting a micro hatch down too, actually, right outside the ramp here. Very interesting play, and I think this is supposed to be a Zerg wall, is what we're seeing right here. We've got 2 creep colonies here in the front, and 2 hatches right behind that. Should be blocking movement path through here. So, KilahAce is going to be trying to force movement up through this top ramp right here. And we're about to find out exactly how this is going to look. We have 5 Zealots on the way over here right now from Hazorath. Looks like they're going to be taking the top route anyway, though. And these creep colonies not turned into Sunkens just yet, so KilahAce going to have to respond to this with some Zerglings. And here we have a Hydra coming up, but these Zealots can make quick work of these Sunkens before they're able to actually get done. If he targets them. And 1 Sunken down. And Hazorath looks like he's gonna be happy with just bringing down the 1 Sunken for now. The other one's still at full health. Looks like the Sunken's already complete on the ramp down on the bottom here. So now we see why exactly Kilah wanted to fast expand in the way that they did. The fast expansion up to the 3rd base, going to be forcing, or attempting to force, the engagement up on the top outside of the 3rd. It looks like Hazorath going to be trying to get the DT in there, but Overlord's already there in place to be able to scout that DT out. Hazorath not getting any value whatsoever from that DT. So overall, good map awareness so far from KilahAce, forcing the issue onto the top there. Able to respond with good time against the DT. And now, High Templar on the way. Storm has been researched at this point. We've got the robotics facility being constructed. Up to 4 gates now for Hazorath. And the Overlord just hanging out here scouting the base. So Kilah going to be able to see whatever he needs to be able to respond appropriately to this build. A lot of Zealots. We don't see many goons on the battlefield, if any. No goons yet on the battlefield. So strictly Zealots and High Templars at this time. We have an Overlord here scouting the bottom of the base here. Meanwhile, we have Overlord movement speed being researched and missile weapons for the Hydras being researched. 2 Evo chambers down. That must be in the main. Nope, here they are. Right here, the natural. We'll likely see another research being queued up here pretty soon here in the Evo chamber. 6 Hydras in production now, and there's the Dragoons. 5 Dragoons being constructed right now, warped in, have you for the Protoss player. And we see the observatory going down now. Gonna be able to get the observer out on the battlefield here pretty soon. Pretty good timing on that. That should get done before any lurker tech at this point. I've yet to see. Oh, and there's the lurker tech right there. So the observer gonna be done before lurker tech. So good timing right there from Hazorath on that. Looks like Hazorath's gonna try to engage here on the 3rd. Only 1 Sunken here to defend. We got Hydras moving up to try to defend against this mass Zealot push. A Storm gonna be making everybody push back out from there. And here the Zerglings trying to fight through here. Separate some of the Hydras from each other there. And the Storm's not really landing a whole lot just yet, but they are doing a good job zoning out the Hydras for Kilah. 1 Storm dropped about 3 Hydras here in the corner, and that was about all we saw right there. Good defense from Kilah so far, able to dodge the Storms. All in all, good defense right there. Only 2 High Templars make it out of that engagement. We've got the Observer on the battlefield, though. Going to be able to scout out this army. Both those High Templars definitely going to go down. But Hazorath going to be able to see these these Hydras moving across the battlefield right here. And that is unknown to Kilah. So good information on that so far. Looks like we have the goons ready to defend against this, though. The counterattack. So not going to be getting too much from that. And a lot going down here. A lot of photon cannons being put down here at this vulnerable third base for the Protoss player. Not taking any risks from any openings coming in from flyers on the bottom side of this mineral patch here. Going to be putting a photon cannon down there as well. And here we have the probe transfer. Meanwhile, we have 3 more High Templars being warped in right now. Another gateway being put down. We've got ground armor, rather, being researched. Another hatch. So the Zerg are going to be expanding again, this time into the top left here of the map. But we see the Lurk going to be hatched out here. Likely going to play defense for that until we can get some Sunkens up there to protect against that. I do apologize if you hear me sniffling a little bit. I'm a little stopped up today, so you have to bear with me through that. Okay, good storm right there on the entrance on the ramp. The Hydra's going to be able to take a little bit of damage from that. This is definitely going to get defended against. So KilahAce just kind of testing out the defenses right there, kind of seeing what's going on and what is available to Hazorath at that time. Looks like Hazorath going to be moving out across the bottom here, across the high ground. We've got 3 lurkers being hatched right here for Kilah right now. And this Observer doing a good job getting out here in front, going to be scouting this out. And the Observer is going to be able to see this small army right here for sure. They're going to hang out, keep map vision. Hazorath can be well aware of what they're going into at this point. And it looks like they're going to try to go for a semi-surround on this Zerg army. Yes, and they do so. We see the Zealots wrap around. The High Templars, though, just kind of walking into the Hydras and gets a massive storm right there in the middle. My goodness. This Zerg army going to get cleaned up very quickly. What a storm right there from Hazorath. Got the big cluster of Hydras right there. Meanwhile, Protoss going to be expanding to a 4th down here in the bottom, right? So both players spread up across their side of the map now. And now Hazorath going to go for a counter-strike. And where's it going to be? At the natural or the 3rd? Hazorath trying to get their army grouped back up together. Meanwhile, we see a bunch of Hydras are already being produced here for Kilah. I kind of like the hatchery right here. Kilah's able to resupply the army very quickly right there. And a lot of creep colonies and Sunkens being put here at this vulnerable 4th. Kilah going to try to push the issue up here. One Sunken already done. Going to be moving the Lurkers into position right there. Good spread. That's going to be hard to hit both of those with one storm right there. So the High Templar's not going to be getting a whole lot of value at this particular time. Yeah, only 1 Lurker. Going to be caught in that storm right there. And still alive. Meanwhile, we've got 4 Sunkens still left here on this particular base. This is definitely going to mess with the droning mine time right here. But all in all, this is going to get cleaned up, I believe. Look at the line of Hydras that we have moving in here. And of course, we have a storm getting dropped on the ramp right there. Probably going to see another one. There's a few High Templars standing around here that are going to be able to drop storms. Another storm being dropped, and Kilah going to be well aware of this. You can see the kind of dance he's doing with the Hydras. Moving them up. As soon as we see the storm go down, we're backing out. And let's see. So we've got 1 High Templar with still quite a lot of energy left. We've got about 3 storms left in these High Templars right here. And it looks like Hazorath actually might be able to push this base down if he continues up this pressure. The reinforcements now coming across the battlefield and going to be able to entrap the Hydras here. So the storm forces the Hydras up the ramp and into the Dragoons, and they actually finish off the Dragoons that were there. So only now the reinforcements, the only thing left. Able to knock down the hatchery. The drone's going to be coming back down, though. Everybody going to go back to work. Hatch is going to come back up. There we heard the Observer go down. So now this Protoss army, at least temporarily, going to be vulnerable to lurkers. So Kilah a little bit on the back foot right now, but wisely not throwing the entire army against this. Okay, we have one observer in the mix, 2 High Templars back on this side of the map again. And it looks like we may have started the mining process a little bit too soon here. We've got the drones trying to return minerals back to the 3rd base. But Hazorath not gonna be punishing for that. This hatchery just about halfway done at this point. Okay, and there we go. So now Hazorath's gonna be denying the long mining. And a lot going on back at the Protoss base. We've got ground weapons being researched, observer movement speed, Templar energy. We've got High Templars and observers in production, 2 gateways in production. And despite all of that, Hazorath's still with over 1,500 minerals in the bank. The Dragoon's going to be trying to target down this first sunken here, allowing the army to move up a little bit. And here we have a little bit of a drop here into the main. Let's see how good this does. So the Overlords with a Hydra drop into the main of the Protoss player, and that is pretty big. This is going to do some damage here for Kilah. So the Hydra drop into the main right here, and also during this, looks like we're going to have an attack over here on the far side with the Storm being dropped there. So both players trying to manage both engagements right now. And this looks like it's going to be a good defense here from the Zerg player. Kilah going to be able to defend against this, but still wreaking havoc over here in the main of the Protoss. Doesn't look like we're going to get any buildings destroyed here, but this definitely caused chaos, no doubt about that. Looks like we've got one building right there. Meanwhile, the 3rd was able to fall here. Hazorath able to knock out that 3rd. Good amount of Hydras right here, though. And this 4th definitely looking good for the Zerg player. Protoss player getting a little greedy on this one, trying to come down here and take away this base here from the Zerg player. This one a little bit closer to the Zerg side of the map here. You would expect to see the Zerg player take this mineral line and the Protoss player take the one on the top right there. But Hazorath getting a little greedy here, going to try to come over here and sneak this Nexus in. But Kilah able to respond to that pretty quickly, and needs to get the Hydras out of here before the Protoss army drops down. So Kilah with some very good map awareness. And now we see the Zerg player getting a little greedy, trying to take the top mineral patch here. So we'll have to see if Hazorath discovers that and responds. And here we see the Hydras hung out a little too long on this particular location. We're likely going to see the... Yeah, here we go. With the Lurkers going to get burrowed in right here, but the Observers are here. Observer's going to be able to gain vision on this. Good micro right there from Kilah, morphing the couple Hydras that were left right there, which kind of blocked up this pathway right here and let the Lurkers get some free hits right there. But all in all, this definitely going to get cleaned up here. This Protoss army just getting a little too big right now. We've got a secret Overlord here. Nothing in it. Just watching. Kilah flying an Overlord around out here, just outside the main here. Looking for anything. Got one little Ling just hanging out in the battlefield out here. Good spread of Lurkers out here. This 4th going to be very hard to push into. Looks like Kilah going to be trying to get the 3rd back online right here. And this Protoss army zipping across the battlefield now. Going to be looking for targets. And I have a feeling this 5th base right here might not be long for this world. We see the... Oh no, and the drones were about to transfer to it as well. And yeah, this 5th base definitely not long for this world. Definitely going to go down here. No doubt about that. And in the meantime, here we see the Protoss player again. Hazorath going to be trying to expand once again down into this bottom part. So Kilah going to be made aware of this as the drone comes down here to try try to put a hatchery down, but too late. Protoss already there. And while it was able to get past the Zealots at first, it was not able to get away. And here we go again with another Hydra drop. Let's see where this one's gonna go. It looks like it's headed for the bottom right or possibly the third here. A lot of photon cannons at both of those bases. And we see the Hydras, just a regular group of Hydras, going to be coming down here to try to fight and deny that expansion down here. A lot of Overlords here. Overlords starting to take some shots here from the photon cannons. Going to get a good number of Hydras unloaded, though. And I don't think we lost a single Overlord in that push right there. Oh, my goodness. Once again, the Hydra drop doing damage right here. Gonna completely deny this bottom right base here. So KilahAce with good Hydra drops with the Overlords. And he needs to pick up these Hydras really quickly to skedaddle out of here. Which looks like we are gonna see before the Protoss army able to engage once again. So we may see a few Overlords go down here. We're gonna have to leave some Hydras. But these Overlords gonna try to skedaddle out of here. And not every single one of these are full with Hydras either. So we may lose some Hydras here, but all in all, not going to lose too many. And I'm curious if we're going to see a drop right here. And we do. Okay. So Kilah flying around these Hydras and just dropping them here and there, wherever. And now the Protoss army, although it is much larger, is kind of scrambling around to try to respond to the drops here from Kilah. So the Protoss army not really ever able to fight head on against the Zerg player. The Zerg player, Kilah here, doing a good job shuttling around these Hydras and dropping them in key locations and dealing the damage exactly where it needs to be dealt while avoiding the main front of the Protoss army. And here we go. Once again, we've got Zerg on the move away from the main Protoss army. So it looks like the key here is going to be avoid that main conflict, move around, keep them guessing, and hit vital areas where the army are not. And we have a lot of photon cannons being placed down here. Hazorath, obviously wise to what's going on now, going to be putting down photon cannons for static defense at every single one of these bases. We see the photon cannons already going down here. I'm surprised we don't see one going down here yet as well. Hazorath with 2,000 in the bank, I would have guessed we would have seen a pylon and then photon cannons immediately. But these lurkers going to be sitting here chipping away at this base right now. Got a Ling rush down here in the bottom. This is not going to get a whole lot done here. And look at the number of photon cannons down here at the bottom. So Hazorath had enough with these Hydra drops. Gonna be stacking up on these photon cannons for static defense here. And here we've got a good Defiler Cloud thrown down. Another one on top of these photon cannons. So the Ling is going to be able to get in here, rush in here, and these photon cannons will go down here. Oh, we've got some High Templars in the mix here, though. The High Templar is able to drop some storms. So, as a matter of fact, the High Templar are going to deny the Ling rush here onto the photon cannons with the Defiler Cloud. And the Protoss army will be making it here sooner rather than later. I would look to see Kilah pick up these Defilers, or at least burrow them. Big storm going down there. A lot of these photon cannons being dropped right now. And we see the Defilers throwing down swarm clouds here. And just doing a number against the Protoss army as it's moving in here. So many swarms being dropped down right now from Hazorath. But the Lurkers just putting down so much damage. Lurkers inside these swarm clouds like this are absolutely brutal to deal with. You can see just how much damage was dealt to the Protoss. All of these photon cannons were knocked down, and we're down to 6 goons and 4 High Templars. A little bit of a miss micro right there on the Defiler. And let's see. Nothing inside of the Overlords. We do have one Lurker left here, so all the Defilers go down right there. But that is okay. Kilah did a good number against Hazorath right there in that trade. And once again, going to be trying to avoid the main army of the Protoss here. We see the Lings rushing in down here on the bottom. Storms going down on top of the Photon Cannons. The Zerglings doing a big number on the Photon Cannons right here. So one thing about the Zerglings, they are low health, but high damage. You see just how fast they can melt these Photon Cannons once they get on top of them. And this base actually going to go down here in the bottom right and the mid right here with just Lings themselves. And sadly, we see two High Templars standing here with full energy just watching these Lings. They could be dropping storms right here, but instead, they're going to go down, morphing into an Archon instead. Hazorath just a little slow on that one. But there's a lot going on here, and Kilah doing a good job of making sure that there's a lot going on here, making it difficult for the Protoss player to find anything to even fight. And here, though, Hazorath going to be trying to do some damage of themselves here. Looks like they're going to be trying to go for this fourth base right here. The Storm being dropped on the first Lurker group right there that we see. But a lot of Lurkers spread out right here very nicely. So these Archons going to be taking a lot of punishment trying to move in here. Kilah able to get back. Pulls back the Overlords right there. And here we have... Oh my gosh, these Zerglings just wreaking havoc right now. They're going to push down this base as well. But this base already mined out, though, for the Protoss player. And it looks like the Archon definitely going to be able to clean up these Lings right here. But my goodness, 3 bases knocked out right there for KilahAce before the Protoss player was able to defend against that. And that is not good. Not good at all. Hazorath went from sitting on 2,000 minerals now on 3 bases practically mined out. We've got one little patch there, but now on 1 base mining right now for the Protoss player. And now Hazorath looking to deal some damage of themselves. Going to be pushing in on this 3rd base here. And the 3rd base for the Zerg player going to go down right here. All in all, not too big of a loss, though. Only a few mineral patches left right there. And we hear the Defilers just consuming Zerglings right now, getting more energy. So very healthy Zerg base up here in the top. Protoss going to be trying to take some more bases back down here. But it looks like Kilah going to be sneaking in here in the bottom right. And going to try to gain control of this. And I am a little concerned for this base. There is a ramp right here where this army could go up here and up this small ramp on the bottom right here to get to this. But it looks like Kilah gonna be ready to defend for this base here in the bottom. We see a lot of the Zerg army on this bottom side of the map right here. And it looks like Kilah going to be aware of the goings on right here. Going to be doing a lot of damage right here to this Archon. The Hydras get hit right here at the top. We've got another big storm going down, but not enough to stop the Zerg right here. The Zerg going to be able to push in here, and Kilah already has a drone down here to put down a hatchery once this goes down. So Kilah being very aggressive this game, as I suspected we would see. And this is what you would expect to see from most Zerg players right here. The aggression, avoiding the main conflict, and instead opting to deal damage everywhere else but where the army is. And Kilah has to know right now that the Protoss army is making its way down here. And here, the Overlord's going to give just a few seconds warning right here. Okay, so we see the swarm cloud go down. A couple storms get put down. A lot of storms get put down, actually. But the Protoss army takes a little bit of a hit right here, and these Lurkers going to get done in good time. Kilah going to try to be moving the Lurkers up into the swarm cloud to help protect against that. But one of the swarms... Oh, yeah, these Lurkers definitely going to go down here. So, unfortunately, Killa not going to be able to hold on against this. That drone is still hiding out down here by the geyser, so we'll have to see what happens there. But in the meantime, over here, we've got 2 probes that came in to try to put down the Nexus, only to find that the hatchery was already there. And I'm not sure that these defenses are going to be up in time. It does not look like they will be, but we have a Nidus being constructed here. And I don't know if this Nidus was in time or not. Does not look like it got done in time. Good idea right there from Killa, though. I would expect to see the Nidus coming from just outside the natural at those macro hatches that we looked at earlier. Right here. I'd expect to see the Nidus go up right around in this area right here, but all in all, looks like the Zerg player is starting to actually run away with this one a little bit. Got to be able to defend this mineral patch very effectively right now. The Zerg army outnumbering the Protoss here by a pretty good margin. So, see some good storms get pushed down right there, but Killa gonna be able to push Hazorath back into the base right here. And it does look like the Zerg is gonna start running away with this one a little bit here. We've got a good number of Archons coming down, though. There's gonna be able to push out a lot of damage against this lineup, and a couple of Reavers coming into the mix here. We're going to see the Hydras target down those Reavers. Not a lot of value from those Reavers. Pretty good Storm right there on the left. So Storm is doing it, taking a number, doing some damage against these Hydras. The Archons, 2 go down at one time, though, and there's the other one. All the Archons drop down. The shuttle denied right there. So the Hydras doing their job. Putting some punishment out right here and able to deny that army, and this is not looking good for Hazorath. KilahAce looks like they are in pretty good control at this point. However, this top left base now completely mined out. Killa going to be sitting on just under 1,200 minerals for the time being, and I guess pretty decently. Nidus just down a little bit from where I thought it would be. Yes, there it is. So the tunnel going to be created here. We're likely going to see the drone transfer come through this Nidus channel. Once this gets done here. Oh, we have 2 Nidus canals. Okay, Killa getting a little risky here. Going to be trying to take both of these bases at the same time. I say that's a little risky because that's going to spread out Killa's defense a little bit. More than what I would like to see, and I missed that. Oh no, the group of Hydras that were hanging out right there gets taken out by a small Protoss army that appears to be heading down here to this now vulnerable 4th base. So the Observer gonna be able to see that. Hazorath doesn't really like what they're seeing right here. Not sure if they want to engage on this or not. Not sure if they're worth it. These guys must be on a hold command. So the Storm able to knock out 1 lurker right here, but we still have more in the mix here. This Observer not doing too good, and it just gets knocked down immediately. So that's going to deny the vision of this army and the lurkers over here. That's going to completely stop Hazorath from moving in on this side. No Observer means you cannot move into the lurkers. And now Killa back to mining right here. We've got a lot of drones on this mineral line. This is very vital for Killa to hold this. We're going to be trying to move the lurkers down. And let's see how Killa does. Zealot's taking some big hits from the lurkers right there. And we've got a group of Hydras moving in on the backside of this. Going to be starting to target down the High Templars, but they drop a few storms. And it looks like the drone's going to be pulled off the mineral line here to help defend against this. Big storms right there. Very big storms right there. But it is not going to be enough. So Killa able to defend against this push. And that was a big play right there. So the Zerg player now going to be on 2 mineral lines mining, although we don't have any drones over here just yet. And Protoss still only mining on 1 base. Big storm right there knocks out the little cluster of Hydras, though. Once again, But with the defilers down here on this base, this is going to be really hard for Hazorath to bust into this, as we've seen. And I'm just looking around here to see what is left to the Protoss player. Pretty healthy mineral patch right here, but the problem is Hazorath's economy is not going to be quite as strong as the Zerg economy here. Okay, here we go. The Archon trying to push in down on the lurkers right here, but just getting absolutely punished. A big storm right here gets dropped on top of these Hydras and lurkers and takes out a cluster of Zerg right there. But my goodness, the Defiler with some good hits right there deals a big number of damage. Deals a lot of damage to these Protoss right here. Looks like Hazorath destroying a pylon, blocking themselves from getting out right there. And this doesn't look good for Hazorath. Hazorath appears to be trying to find a weak spot to push into either of these Zerg bases to deny the Zerg the stronger economy, but it seems like it might be a little too late here. Both players kind of on the downside of things. You see the flow of the game has kind of slowed up a little bit, and that is mainly because the loss of economy here. Both players not able to just push out as much army as they could on 3 and 4 base. Now only down to 2 base and 1 base mining. And that slowed the tempo down. And this is going to be whoever can outlast the longest and hold the mineral patches in the end. That's what this one's going to come down to, it looks like. A lot of good back and forth right here between these players. And at this left side here, we see a lot of Sunkens that got put down. 3 Sunkens. So some good static defense there. And it looks like Hazorath may be deciding to push in on this bottom right once again. The observer is kind of taking a peek here, seeing what's going on. Got 1 storm put down on top of a lurker, able to take it out. Another one put down on top of the Defiler. Defiler just gets away and gets picked up from the Overlord. That probably saved that Defiler right there. Was able to deal some good damage right here. So the storm's slowly working back the lurkers here. And it looks like Hazorath going to be taking their time with this one. Moving up a little bit at a time right here. And the Reavers going to be trying to take out the lurkers from afar right here. So Kilah going to be moving up right here with the Hydras. Able to draw out 1 storm. The Zealot's going to get pulled and taken down. And the Dragoons try to push up the ramp. Oh no, not a good idea. Dragoons up a ramp is a terrible idea. Big storm right there, though, from Hazorath. That was able to drop quite a few Hydras right there. We see 6 Hydra corpses going away right there in that particular part. Hazorath starting to build up a little bit of an army outside here. And once again, appearing as if they're going to be slowly trying to push in against the Zerg player right here. Going to be relying on these Reavers, dropping Scarabs from afar to try to take out these lurkers. The Hydra's trying to move up and to defend against this, and the Reaver goes down, but we have 3 observers still here. Swarm Cloud gets put down. And here we go. Some Hydra reinforcements come into play right here. They're standing underneath the cloud for the most part. And this lurker inside the cloud right here is going to be absolutely laying out some damage this entire time. And these Hydras doing work against this Protoss army. Going to be able to defend against this. Once again, KilahAce able to defend against the Protoss push. Denying that. And holding on to the very vital mineral patch still left down here. And it looks like Hazorath almost on their last breath right here. Very close to being completely out of minerals. Only 140 minerals left in this patch. We've got 36 left in the main base, and that is it. So this is pretty much the writing on the wall here. Looks like Kilah gonna be able to walk away with this one by securing these mineral lines. And it is all but over with at this point. Hazorath with only 500 in the bank right now. Up to a max of about 600. All in all. With this match pretty well over with. Very good back and forth from both players, though. This one coming right down to the end. The only thing left here, we may see this Reaver trying to get dropped in here. But Kilah able to defend against that. We've got the Hydras in place. And on both sides of the field. And this is it. This is all that's left with the Protoss army right here. Got some Hydras able to come down and take out that Reaver. That's pretty big. That was the only thing left, really, to take care of the lurkers that are entrenched in. And we can see the population of Hazorath starting to dwindle here. Only down to 65 versus Kilah's 96. There's not really a whole lot in production right now. Hazorath really trying to hold on to what they have left. At this point, all the mineral patches are mined out. Other than this 36 mineral field right here, that's it. So 245 is what Hazorath is left with to try and gain a foothold somewhere. And you're looking at the only Protoss army left on the battlefield. The Hydras right here coming in, going to be trying to target down the High Templars here. They get two, so two High Templars and a Reaver left. And it looks like Hazorath going to be shuttling around the Reaver right here. And a big hit comes in from the Defiler right there. That's going to soften up this Protoss army quite a bit right here. Good storm. And once these Lings get on top right here, that's going to clean up this Protoss army very quickly. Once the shields gets busted through, that is pretty much it. And there it finally is. The GG from Hazorath. Good game right there from both players. But in the end, KilahAce able to outlast the Protoss player. Walks away with the W. So KilahAce going up 1-0 on Hazorath. Good first game. Can't wait to see match number 2. And here we go into match number 2 between these two players. There we go. Here in the bottom right, as our red Zerg player, we have none other than KilahAce. And up here in the top left, as our blue Protoss, Hazorath. This next match, match number 2, going to be taking place on Attitude. This is a 4-player map with spawn locations in each corner. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've got a natural expansion just down a ramp outside the main, and an exposed third out here. Natural, and a third. There are 4th expansions out here in the kind of the center middle of each long side of the map. And the crazy part about the 4th is obviously accessible from both sides right here. So 2 ramps to try to defend against this 4th base. This particular map features a giant battlefield right here in the middle, where it's going to be hard to gain any type of height advantage or still have you on this particular map. Good first game between these two players, though. In the end, KilahAce was able to pull ahead just by securing the mineral lines on that last match. So, this particular map, Attitude, was chosen by Hazorath as the loser of the match gets to pick the next map from the map pool. So Hazorath chose this map in particular, and I'm sure we can guess as to why. The only reason it seems that Hazorath really lost that match, the first match, was because of economy and lack of resources. So we went from a 2-player map where that caused the game to end, so now we have a 4-player map, so a lot more resources to be had here from Hazorath. I think that was likely the decision behind choosing this map, but I don't know. Can't say for sure. And here we see both players going to be taking the natural expansion here. And here we have the forge wall going up. Photon cannon going to be placed just next to the pylon back here. And I'm curious if we're going to see... Okay, we see the scouting drone taking some shots here at the photon cannon. Kind of funny. All in all, that drone not going to be able to do a whole lot here. But that should be enough for Kilah to see, okay, we're going for a fast expansion with the forge wall here from Hazorath. So once again, Hazorath opening up with a very safe opening against the Zerg player. The photon cannon going to be done in time to deny the Zerglings, who are just now getting done and making their way across the battlefield right here. And I'm curious if we're going to see Kilah grab a third very quickly, and we do. Here we go. So Kilah grabbing 3 base. 3 hatch again early on in this one. So far, both players following a very similar build order to match number 1. We may see another long game here if both players are looking to get into the mid game here without much early game pressure. See, the probe going to be trying to make its way into the main here, and that could have been denied with the drones that were passing by right there. But it doesn't look like Kilah was too worried about it. There's not really a whole lot going on here. The probe's going to be able to see the spawning pool. It already saw the hatchery right here at the natural, so not really a whole lot of scouting information to be denied in the natural. I mean, you expect to see a spawning pool at that point, and that's about it. So Hazorath going to be aware of the slower approach here from the Zerg player, going for the quick expansion. And the Zergling just going to be trying to chase this probe around. He needs help, friend Zerglings. Someone help the Zergling. Okay, looks like we've got a macro hatch going down in the 3rd expansion here. And from what I can see, I'm going to guess that this 3rd base right here was given up because it appears to be harder to defend against this. Whereas up here on this particular base location, you have the high ground and the choke points of the ramps where you can kind of use those to funnel in your opponent, making for good choke points. Hard to push through a lot of Dragoons up ramps and stuff like this. The Dragoons like to spread out to be able to deal damage, and when they're all clustered and trying to walk up a ramp, yeah, it doesn't work out too well for the Dragoons. Okay, let's check out what we've got going on here for Hazorath. So, looks like we have ground weapons being researched and zealot movement speed being researched. We've got a gateway in production right now. We've got the photon cannon down at the natural. So all in all, this base is going to be pretty safe from any type of Zergling rush that could be thrown this way this early in the game. Hazorath looking to expand a little slowly. Meanwhile, looks like we're going into layer tech here for KilahAce. We've got the Hydra Den just now finishing up. I'm curious to see if we're going to see some Mutaplay this time, or if KilahAce is just going to be moving straight into Hydras. So I'm going to be watching to see if the Spire goes down once this layer gets done. We've got one Zergling pushing its way across the battlefield. Kilah likely going to park this thing right outside the base here, the natural expansion, and leave it there for scouting information. I'm going to back it up just a little bit there. Yeah, so going to park the Ling there for early warning signs of army moving out. Looks like Hazorath not going to be having that, though. Gets the Zealot out there, takes down the Zergling. Going to be denying that scouting information, but the Overlord still flying around in here. Still doing his thing. Got 2 more gateways being put down right here. Kilah going to be flying down there to see what exactly is being placed. And we do not immediately see a Spire go down. Instead, we see Lurker Tech being researched right now. Storm being researched right now by Hazorath. And a DT on the way. More gateways in production this time. So it looks like Hazorath going for a little bit of a gateway explosion here. Going to be up Going to be up to 5 gateways. A little bit of a zealot move out here. Only 1 sunken done right now. 1 being constructed right now. But does not look like it's going to get it done in time. The zealot's going to be able to knock down this other sunken. Oh, it comes up. Able to get 1 hit out, but that's it. Meanwhile, this sunken trying to hold on as much as it can. Does not, though. The zealot's able to... They get there just in time to deny that sunken and push down the other one. Going to be denying the double hatchery on this particular round right here. And that's pretty big right now for Hazorath. KilahAce was putting a lot of eggs in that basket with 2 hatcheries on this particular base location. And ends up hatching the hydras there and able to defend against that. The zealots have to be pulled back. So actually a turn of events right there. Kilah able to defend against that. That was very important. Good defense right there from Kilah. Gonna pull some more drones back up there now. And we have 4 lurkers being hatched now at this particular base. A DT coming up. Gonna be trying to do its thing. But no problem. Got overlords already there. Always in place. No problem. Not gonna be having any of that DT play. And this overlord's still just flying around inside the Protoss main right here. So KilahAce doing a good job getting a lot of information from this overlord. Not a single goon being warped in to take care of that. Very interesting. We've got Hydra movement speed and Overlord movement speed being researched. Robotics facility, High Templars on the way, ground armor being researched. More gateways being put down. All the gateways. Hazorath needs all the gateways this game. And with no observer here, this Protoss army going to be forced to back up. Good storm right there. But both armies disengaged. Those Hydras almost all went down from that singular storm. And Hazorath with good timing right here with this lurker presence. Trying to bait out the storms right here from these High Templars. The High Templars are the only defense right now that Hazorath has against these lurkers. And it looks like Hazorath likely going to be waiting for this lurker to burrow before dropping a storm on it. It's hard to tell what's going to get done first here. Looks like the morph right there from KilahAce. Good micro right there. Saving that Hydra, morphing it into a lurker before it goes down. And this lurker appears as if it's going to be able to take down this gateway. The observer just about done at this point, though. Big storm right there. Drop to the Hydras. And here comes the observer. So unfortunately, this lurker push going to come to an end right here. There are no Hydralisks left in the mix to shoot down the observer. And now the lurkers being pushed back across the battlefield. And Kilah being a little greedy right here. Going to be trying to take another base. Kilah down to 74 population versus Hazorath's 120. Kilah also down 13 drones right now. It looks like Hazorath's kind of pulling away with this one a little bit so far here in the mid-game. A lot more population and more worker count. Stronger economy and stronger army. And Hazorath looks like they're going to be engaging on this exposed third right here. This Protoss army looking very strong at this point in the game right now. And this third definitely going to go down here. Good group of lurkers up there at the top. Not much left in the way of an army right now to defend against this from Kilah. Big storm goes down right there. 2 storms. Going to be targeting the lurkers that are burrowed in right there. And the Hydras go down. And this could be disastrous for Kilah right now. Protoss army inside the natural right now. Absolutely wreaking havoc. Only 1 sunken left down here in the bottom right now. KilahAce trying to respond with some Hydras and Lurkers coming in from the top right here. Going to be working away against the Dragoons, but a big storm gets dropped on top of them. Oh no, and all the Hydras go down right there. Only 3 left on the from coming in from the main right there. They get a storm dropped on top of them as they try to push down the ramp. More reinforcements arriving right now from Kilah. Got a lot of Hydras going to be collapsing down on top of this army. The storm gets dropped on top of them, forcing the Hydras over here on the left side. The Hydras moving in, looking like they're going to be trying to target down their Dragoons at first, but the Zealots right in their face, dealing damage. And these Hydras are not going to be enough to defend against this. More Hydras on the way, but now we have Protoss reinforcements arriving. And Kilah trying to target down these Zealots right now. But this Protoss army absolutely just having its way. And there we have it. GG comes out from KilahAce at the 12-minute mark, almost 13-minute mark. So somehow or another, Hazorath was able to run away with that one. You can see the supply count and the population count there getting away from KilahAce a little bit on that one. And that Protoss army was a lot to deal with that early on. That was quite a large Protoss army. So good early game pressure right there from Hazorath. Able to just kind of run right through what little defenses KilahAce had. Good match. Good second match right there for both players. Let's see what's in store for us in match 3. All right, everybody, here we go into match number 3 of this series. Here in the top right, we have Hazorath as our blue Protoss player. And here in the bottom left, KilahAce as our red Zerg player. This last match today going to be taking place on Polestar. This is a 4-player map. Okay, getting a little distracted here. This is a 4-player map with... okay, looks like the player is going to be chatting a little bit back and forth here. Hazorath chatting it up. Kilah throwing out an LOL. That's good. Nice to see that despite the battle that has ensued between these two, they're still having a good time. Anyway, spawn locations in all 4 corners of this map. We've got the natural just down the ramp outside the main here. And third just beyond that. Third here, and also a third down here, which I guess you could consider this a 4th. Either one of these could be considered a 4th, really. I suppose this would be the 3rd here, and then a 4th here or here. Regardless, 4-player map, so both players not going to be aware of the spawn locations for each player starting out. So we're going to have to see who's going to get the first scout off here. And it looks like it may be Hazorath with the first scout. Yes, going to be. The probe going to be making its way into the main of KilahAce here. And the first match, we saw KilahAce was able to secure the late game mineral patches to secure that victory. And here the probe, once again, trying to deny this hatchery right here at the natural. Hazorath doing a bunch of shenanigans here. And the two of them trying to attack each other. And unfortunately for the drone, the probe will win that trade. And so Kilah says to heck with that. Decides to just go ahead and throw down a hatchery out here at the 3rd instead. So giving up the natural expansion for now and opting to go for the hatchery in the 3rd base. Meanwhile, Hazorath going to be taking the Nexus. We see a very similar build order coming out here for Hazorath, going with the safe opening here. We've got the photon cannon next to the pylon, and here will be a gateway. Anyway, as I was saying, in match number 1, KilahAce was able to secure that victory by securing the late game mineral patches. And so it's interesting to me that after the loss from Hazorath in match 2, KilahAce had the map pick and chose to take a 4-player map versus the 2-player map that led to the victory in match number 1 here. Looks like we see the drone scout for Kilah trying to get into the main there, but going to be denied by the photon cannon. And here we have a double hatchery going down in the natural here for Kilah. I'm curious if Kilah is going to be trying to build a wall, a Zerg wall here. I have seen other Zerg players, for example, LML, a very good defensive-minded Zerg player who does similar tricks like this with a hatchery and uses an Evo chamber with Sunkens behind that as a kind of a Zerg wall. So I'll be curious to see if KilahAce is going to follow suit with something similar to that, or how this is going to play out here. Or maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is just a macro hatch inside the secondary or the natural, what have you. We're going to find out, though. We're going to keep an eye on that. It looks like the assimilator just about done here for Hazorath. Zealots being produced right now. We've got 3 walking across the battlefield right now. They're going to be coming down here, possibly taking a look at this third base, seeing what's going on. Not a whole lot of defense right now for Kilah. 1 Zergling just went down. We see 3 in production right now that'll hatch into 6. So 2 will show up here. This is going to be pretty good timing. Thankfully, these Zerglings right here hatch out just in time to kind of intercept these Zealots. And here come the reinforcements from the natural and main. So Kilah doing a good job so far, microing these Zerglings, kind of taking the Zealots away from the drone line right there. And here we go. The Zealots getting in the mix now. We've got reinforcements coming down. We've got 1 more Zealot in the mix. And the drones causing a little bit of chaos here for the Zealots. Kilah doing a good job messing with the pathing of these Zealots, trying to mix in. You can see hiding the Zerglings in here in the midst of these drones, making it very difficult for the Zealots to get on top of them. Couple Zerglings drop down. We see a Zealot go down too, though. More Zealots outside the base, though. This is a scary number of Zealots right here. The Hydra Den just about to be done. There it goes. Hydra Den's done. We've got ground weapons being researched right now. More Zealots being produced. Likely going to be coming down this way. And the Zealots now wreaking havoc on the mineral line here in the third base. The Zerglings doing anything they can to kind of fight back this Zealot rush here. But Zealots versus Zerglings, Zealots are going to win 9 times out of 10. Now that the Hydras are on the battlefield, this pressure should be able to be relieved somewhat. The Hydras have the ability to shoot from the back line now as the Zerglings rush in there. Kind of base tank these Zealots, keep the Hydras safe somewhat. And here come the drones even and cause some more chaos while the Hydras do their work. See 1 Hydra go down, and it just unfortunately doesn't look like it's going to be enough to keep the Zealots at bay, and the Hydras do go down here. So the third base is going to be denied here for KilahAce. Hazorath relying on the Zealots to get the job done. And we see more gateways being made back at home right now for Hazorath. And Kilah finally able to take out these Zealots here, but after losing the third. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gateways, 7 gateways, and the cybernetics core comes down. This Overlord right here for KilahAce, though, just hanging out freely inside the main. That's some good intel gathering right there for KilahAce. A lot of photon cannons being put down here in the natural as well. Hazorath going to be very cautious against a counter push here. And while that is a lot of photon cannons, I have seen a good amount of Zerglings rush in and bust down something like that, especially underneath of a Defiler cloud. Looks like these Zealots going to be getting in here, causing some more havoc. Hazorath using the Zealots to maximum value here, absolutely obliterating the worker count here of KilahAce. I'm waiting to see what we're going to be standing at all in all when this attack is done. The Hydras finally make it down here, and they're going to be able to shut this down. But we are at 21 drones now to Hazorath's 43. So Hazorath getting a lot of value out of these zealots, doing damage on these drones. That's going to severely impact the economy of KilahAce moving forward here. Hazorath definitely going to be having the eco advantage at this point in time. We see Templar archives being researched, robotics facility on the way, and ground armor. Meanwhile, for KilahAce back here, looks like we have the Queen's Nest going to be put down here. And the Queen's Nest, I'm curious what we're going to see Kilah go for here with that. Maybe trying to pick out the High Templars by spawning. But we will see. Okay, so Storm being researched now for Hazorath along with Zealot movement speed. It looks like we have some static defense going down now here in the natural for KilahAce. So a little bit different style from LML, who I mentioned a little earlier. But all the same, should be somewhat effective. What's this little probe up to? He's just hanging out there. He's having a good old time. Okay, the observatory here is just about done for Hazorath. So I would expect to see, once the observer hits the battlefield, we'll likely see the move out of this Protoss army, but not until then. The main threat here being lurkers that could be on the battlefield. Until the observers come out, they are susceptible to lurkers, and in the case of a Terran, spider mines. They really have no way of having any side of detection other than a photon cannon, which you can't walk across the battlefield, obviously. So until the observer comes out, Protoss definitely at some disadvantages in regards to those specific unit types. It looks like Hazorath can be cleaning up these Zerg eggs here. Going to be allowing the Protoss army to move out a little bit easier through here, rather than trying to funnel everything through this one little lane right here. Okay. Now the observer's on the battlefield. I would expect to see this army move out sometime soon, but here we have the DT. Okay, so here come the Zealots with some High Templars. And I'm curious what exactly Hazorath's plan is with this DT. We are about to find out. Looks like we have one drone down here thinking. It's thinking about laying a hatchery. It sure is thinking about it real hard. But the DT is going to annihilate it. Meanwhile, we have this probe hiding right here in the mineral line. That is exactly what Hazorath was waiting for. And he says, okay, now that their drone's gone, I'm just going to run away instead of putting a Nexus down. All right. A lot of excitement there. Good job, DT. You did it. I'm proud of you. And instead, Hazorath going to be taking the third base up here on the ramp right here. This, all in all, this seems like a pretty defendable area here. So, doesn't surprise me that Hazorath goes for this one rather than this exposed third right here. There's multiple entries into the third right there. Easily exposed, easily attacked from multiple sides. Okay, and as I suspected, now with the observers, this Protoss army going to be trying to move its way across the battlefield. We've got a good amount of Dragoons here. Very good amount of Zealots here. And a good mix of High Templar in here as well. So this Protoss army looking pretty strong at this point. A lot of static defense here at the third, though. This will be incredibly hard to push through. And this is more of the Evo Chamber wall that I would expect to have seen. Evo Chamber having over double the health of a Sunken. You see the Sunken's got 300. The Evo Chamber at 750. So it takes a lot more to get through the Evo Chamber than it does just a wall of Sunkens. But obviously the Evo Chamber can't attack. Big Swarm getting dropped right there. Going to force the Hydras back into the base. But really, KilahAce doesn't need to be moving out in this particular case. We want the Hydras to fight underneath the Sunkens. That's better for us. And it looks like... Okay, Kilah able to cancel the research in time, so going to be getting the money back on that. But my goodness, that is a lot of queens right there. A lot of queens. And one takes a shot, spawns broodlings off the High Templar. And we see KilahAce starting to try to pick out the High Templars here, but spawn broodlings from the Queens. And what concerns me with this, we have a lot of population put into this Queen count right now. Not a lot of ground army, and wow, it was a massive storm right there. Able to drop 8 Hydras in one storm right there. And not a lot of Zerg army here. Not able to respond against this Protoss army. Seems to be that there may have been too much put into the Queens here. Not enough on the ground to stop this Protoss army. This natural not looking good here. That is a lot of spawn broodlings, but still, all in all, the Protoss army gonna be able to take this base over. Deny the natural. Oh, and there's the GG. So KilahAce throws in the towel. Unfortunately, I can only guess that that's coming at the hands of no army really to speak of there for KilahAce. I think maybe might have just built too many Queens there. Not enough ground units to kind of defend against that. And once the natural goes down like that, and you know the Protoss army's going to be going straight into the main after that, there's really just not much you can do to defend against that. So Hazorath going to be taking the W here at a 2-1 win over KilahAce. Hazorath's going to be moving on to round 3 of the winners bracket to face off against I'm So Cool. Meanwhile, KilahAce going to be dropping down into round 1 of the losers bracket to face off against LML and try to work their way back up to the top. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you're interested to see more from this tournament, check out the next video. Or if you're interested in taking part in one of these tournaments or just want to become a member of the community, join us in StarCraft Underground. Until then, take it easy.